With all the craziness in life, I think it's very common for us to deal with a lot of comparison. I feel like a lot of the times, no matter what age you are, no matter who you are, we're always finding ways to compare ourselves to other people and even ourselves, past versions of ourselves, and the versions of ourselves that we think we should be by now. But the funny thing about all that is that it is not true. And just like I talked about before, the future being an illusion, I think the things that we compare ourselves to and the fake ideals we have for our lives, or the ways we think we should be, I think all of that is an illusion too. I think this comparison thing that we struggle with is a part of human nature all the time, in kind of a way that our mind likes to challenge us, or a way that our mind likes to solve things. Comparison and the mind garbage kind of go hand in hand. Our mind tries to pit us against other people, and other people like our friends or family, or just people that are the same age as us, and it tries to make us think that we should be doing the same thing as them, or at this time in our life we should be looking a certain way, acting a certain way. If you're not living exactly to the conditioned way of human living, or the way that society has been living throughout time, if you're not doing that exactly, then you're not doing enough. But that is just all a part of mind garbage and that mind loop that we constantly get stuck in. And I think it's really important for us to recognize that that is not true. The really silly thing about it is that we compare ourselves constantly to other people, and we think of ways to make our life look like others, and think we should be living life a different way in this period of time. But the funny thing about that is that the only thing that's real is right now, and you can't predict or change or live in the future. No matter how hard you try, you can't get to that future moment. And you also can't go back to the past. The past is over and the future is next, but no matter what you do, you can't get to the future. So why do we spend so much time wanting to change ourselves and change our future, rather than just living in the moment and changing what we do in this current moment? I think the more that you live in the moment and you realize that the moment is not so bad and that the moment is actually beautiful, the less you want to change it, and the more you want to live in it and appreciate it. And you also realize that everything you want to change is not in the moment. Everything you want to change is in the future. I think when you get stuck in that cycle of comparison, next time it's important to sit with it and ask yourself, is this something that has to do with the current moment, or it has to do with the future? And I bet you most of the time it's going to be something that has to do with the future. Recently, I've kind of noticed that when I struggle with this battle between comparison and just being comfortable with where I'm at and not where other people are at, I've noticed this has a lot to do with kind of where I'm at post-grad life, and I've witnessed and watched a lot of my friends from college get full-time jobs or step into their career, and I've kind of been following something that's a little bit more untraditional, and I think that's simultaneously scary but also really beautiful, because I've recognized throughout this time in following something that isn't traditional and something that is different than what I thought I was going to be doing after I graduated, I think it's even better, and it's something that I enjoy even more, because it doesn't matter where you're at, and it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you're doing something that you love. And everybody's lives are different. No two people's lives are the same. So even if I'm watching my friends get full-time jobs and I'm watching their lives kind of play out in a different way than mine, how great is that? I think it would be so boring if everybody in the world did the same thing, if everybody's lives ended up just going the same way. I think the point of living is to do what you love, and it doesn't matter where you're at. We're not here for long, but at the same time, we have time to figure it out, and we have time to kind of put all the pieces together. I think we just have to stop comparing ourselves to other people, because if you continue to compare yourself, then you're never going to be happy. No joy comes from living through other people and wanting something that isn't in your path and doesn't belong to you. I think I've recognized that sometimes the things that you want from other people and the way you want your life to look isn't always what is meant for you. There's going to be things about your life that belong to you and that are in your future that don't belong to anybody else, because it's your life and nobody's lives are the same. And that's why comparison is such a silly and ridiculous thing to do, because we were all born to be somebody and something different, and nobody's ever going to be the same, and nobody's lives are ever going to look the same. So it's silly to try to mold yourself into somebody else and try to mold yourself into somebody's life that you couldn't live because it wasn't meant for you. Social media makes the battle of comparison even more difficult, because whenever you open up any form of social media, you are bombarded with the people you follow and their lives, and you're bombarded with how they live. And sometimes you can't help but just look at them, look at their feed, look at their lives, and think, man, I wish mine was like that. But I don't think we should be wishing away our lives, because life is so precious and life is so beautiful, and basically everything you see online is not true, and it's all just a projection, and none of it is reality. And that can be kind of hard to remember when everything feels so real, and the posts you're seeing and the pictures that you're viewing feels so real, and it feels just kind of like a wake-up call that you should be doing more. But it's kind of a wake-up call that you should be enjoying where you're at. It's kind of a wake-up call to recognize your own light and the way that your life is beautiful, and how beautiful is it that you're not living the same thing, that you're living in the same time period as somebody else, but you're doing something completely different, or you're experiencing life in a completely different way. The one thing all of us have in common is that we're all here together, and I think you really got to ask yourself how you want to live it. Do you want to live it constantly comparing yourself to other people, or do you want to live it experiencing your own life and loving who you are and loving your life and the people around you and the things you love, and dwelling in that and living in that and expressing that, instead of constantly living through somebody else and through somebody else's life and comparing yourself to somebody and to a life that is not made for you and is not meant for you. There's things about you that other people can never have and can never get close to and can never witness, because they're unique to you. And I think that's so special and so forgotten about. The way you see the world and the way that you experience things is your choosing and is unique to you. And you have something to bring to the table that nobody else has. And that's why it's more important than ever just to connect to who you are and connect to your soul and your spirit. And what is it about you that makes you who you are? And what is it about you that is unique and that nobody else can have? And how can that change the world? How can that change you? How can that change lives? You're going to feel so free and peaceful when you break that cycle and you break that comparison, and you just recognize how beautiful it is to be who you are, and how beautiful it is to see life in the way that you see it and live in your timeline and not somebody else's. You don't need to compare yourself to past versions of you, because those versions of you still live inside of you, and you're going to carry them forever. So you don't need to spend time comparing yourself to who you were at 16, or who you were at 10 or 12, or who you were in high school compared to who you were in college, or even who you were at 20 to who you are at 40. It doesn't matter. That version of you is still living inside of you, and you're carrying them with you forever. So you don't need to compare yourself to a younger version of you. And you also don't need to be making up versions and visions of a future you, because that's not happening yet. And you're not going to get to that moment yet. The only thing that's true about you is who you are right now. And it doesn't matter who you were in the past, and it doesn't matter who you're going to be in the future, because you just have to be you right now. And just live in this moment, enjoy this moment, and don't compare yourself. Don't bring yourself down. And just recognize that your future is so bright, and there is going to be versions of you that you don't know. You don't have to plan, that you're going to meet, and you are going to love, and you are going to cherish, and just be so grateful for. But you have to just live in this version of you now, because there's going to come a point where you're going to miss it, and you're going to be so proud of how far you've come. So just be proud of where you're at now, and recognize where you're at now, and don't compare yourself to other people or to who you want to be, and just be grateful for everything around you and everything that you're experiencing, and the way that life has a way of showing you the beauty in the world. Just be grateful for life and who you are. Music has always been a way that has helped me understand myself a little bit better, and has helped me understand life a little bit better. And that is why I have the segment on this channel called Wellness with Wallows. If you don't know already, Wellness with Wallows is my segment dedicated to music, and the way that it just helps us understand the beauty in life and the concept of life a little bit better, and how it serves as just life reminders to keep in mind. The wellness part is because music helps us be well and stay well, and the Wallows part is because Wallows is my favorite band. And during this segment, I just like to pick a song that relates to the topic that we talk about in the video, and pick out some lyrics and kind of just how it helps us understand everything. So the song I'm going to be talking about today pretty much goes hand in hand with the topic of this video, and it's called Pretty Isn't Pretty by Olivia Rodrigo. This is a song that, when this album was released, I always felt like I was going back towards, and I still kind of go back towards it a lot. Sometimes I feel like Olivia is living in my head a lot of the time, because she just has a really strong power in writing lyrics and music that makes you feel like it's just the words that you were never able to say, and she kind of puts the thoughts in a lot of our heads into words. And I know that's why a lot of people are drawn to her and just love her music, because I think she's just really good at that, and just vocalizing the complexities of what it means to be living as a young person in this world. The first lyric goes, "When pretty isn't pretty enough, what do you do? And everyone's keeping it up, so you think it's you." I think this kind of goes just with what we were talking about social media, and that there's always this illusion that everybody is doing better than you, or everybody's keeping it up, when in reality that's not true. And it's not you. It's not just you going through this, or it's not you just feeling like you're not pretty enough or you're not worthy enough. Everybody's feeling that way, and it's not just because of social media. It's because of the world, and it's because of society, and it's just our old conditioning, and it's based on these things that are out of our control. But I think when you start feeling like this, and you start feeling like you can never do enough, you just have to recognize that the only thing you can control is the moment, and what you do in this moment is enough. And you can kind of break your old patterns of comparison and your old patterns of just looking down on yourself negatively, and you can break that and just grow from that when you realize that all you can control is a moment, and it's not just you, and other people are going through this, and it's just kind of something we have to deal with when we're down here. And all this being said, it's really hard to deal with this, and it's hard to break these patterns, but it's so necessary for us to live, and it's necessary for us to keep going and to keep living, and to break these patterns, and just to recognize that you are worth so much more than the thoughts in your head and what you see online, and you are worth so much more than the way you think about yourself and the way that you put yourself down. The last part of the song I would like to talk about is towards the very end, and it goes, "And I bought all the clothes that they told me to buy. I chased some dumb ideal my whole fucking life, and none of it matters and none of it ends. You just feel like shit over and over again." And I think this is just really significant, and kind of just is really raw in the way that She explains that the cycle of comparison is never going to end. You're always going to be chasing some dumb ideal that never is consistent. I think standards in life and ideals that people have for like beauty standards or just life in general, and the trajectory of your life is always going to change. It's always a dumb ideal that is not true to you, and it doesn't have to be true to you. And everything is relative, and life is relative, and you have the life design of your life in your soul and in your spirit and in your heart, and you don't have to follow the ideals that people make up for your life and for what you should be doing. And none of it matters, none of it ends. It's always going to be there in the back of your head, trying to push you to do something else or trying to convince you that you're not doing enough. And you just have to continue to stay present and stay grounded. You just have to recognize that, yes, this constant thought is not going to end, but I have the power to be present in the moment and detach from it. And yes, it might not end, but I can quiet it. You just have to recognize that none of it's real in the future, in the ideals that people have for you or that you have for yourself. It's just ideals, and it's not who you are. Who you are is your soul and your spirit. So as you move into this week, just remember that the things you see online and the patterns that your mind tries to loop you into are not real. And you don't need to compare yourself to other people, because you are exactly where you need to be, and you have something to offer that nobody else has. And so just spend time in your soul, in your spirit this week, and just find the beauty inside yourself and the things that you love about yourself, and just dwell on that and live in that, and just follow whatever brings you love and whatever brings you light, and you're gonna get through this, and I'm here for you always.